In this video, you are going to learn aggressive Danish Gambit. If you consider yourself to be an attacking player, then this gambit is for you. It starts with e4, e5. Here, first you sacrifice a pawn, d4. After e cross d4, you play c3. You sacrifice second pawn. After d cross c3, and you don't play knight cross e3. You play bishop to c4, offering one more pawn. And 49% of the time your opponent will play c cross b2. And we are also going to look at if he does not take the third pawn, then how should we play. So here we play bishop cross b2. We have sacrificed two pawns, and in return we have these two bishops that are pointing toward the opponent's king side. You will get many attacking chances in this gambit. Here black can play bishop b4 check. He can play knight c6 or knight to f6. Let's look at these variations one by one. After bishop to b4 check, you simply play knight c3 and block the check. Black plays knight f6, and just remember, in this variation, whenever knight comes on e5, we immediately attack with our e5 pawn. If black tries to be tricky, he plays queen e7, pinning this pawn and attacking it. Then after queen e2, you unpin this pawn, and this knight does not have a good square to go to. All of these squares are covered. So knight will go to g8. Then you play knight f3. After knight c6, you go short castle. And after a move like pawn to d6, you start the attack with knight d5. You are threatening e7, you are threatening c7, you are also threatening knight cross b4. And once the queen moves, you can play e cross d6 and open the line to attack the black's king. So white is winning in this position. And if black simply plays knight e4, and most of the time your opponent will play knight e4, he wants to put more pressure on this pinned knight. Here we play queen d5. So whenever in this variation, whenever knight comes to e4, we either play queen d5 or sometimes we sacrifice the bishop on f7 also. And after bishop cross e3, bishop cross e3, opponent plays knight g5 to protect f7 square. We play f4. After knight e6, we again play f5. And look, opponent's pieces are not developed, they are not doing anything, only one piece is developed, and look at our pieces. Our pieces are active and we are putting pressure on the opponent's king side. Opponent plays c6 and you just simply come back, queen e4. After knight c5, you slide your queen to attack the opponent's king side. This g7 pawn is very hard to defend. And if black plays a natural move like short castle, then you play e6. Your threat is to checkmate on g7 square. After f6, you play e7. It's a discovered check on the black's king, and you are also threatening the rook and the queen. So you are completely winning in this position. And if your opponent starts with knight f6, then you directly play e5. After knight e4, you can simply sacrifice your bishop on f7. After king cross f7, queen d5 check, and take this knight. White has huge winning chances and white has full compensation for the pawn. Black's king will be stuck in the center forever, and you quickly develop your pieces, go short castle, and black's king is a permanent target in this position. Your opponent can also start with knight to c6. Then you play knight f3. After bishop b4 check, knight c3, knight f6. And once the knight comes on f6, we immediately play e5. After knight e4, again we go queen to d5. We are threatening this knight and we are also threatening on f7 square. After knight to g5, you play knight cross g5, queen cross g5, queen cross f7, king d8. And now this pawn is under attack. So first we play f4 and we don't care about this g2 pawn. After queen cross g2, we go long castle. And all of white's pieces are very active. Bishop, knight, bishop, queen, this rook is active. And our threat is we want to play moves like e6 and we want to target this king. We can also play rook to g1 and then play queen cross g7 or rook cross g7. And white has fantastic attacking chances in this position. Now let's look at what happens if your opponent does not accept our Danish Gambit. Here after bishop to c4, if your opponent does not accept our gambit and plays a move like knight to c3, then we simply play knight cross c3. After knight f6, we play knight f3, bishop to b4, and we play pawn to e5. If black plays knight e4, then you already know we are going to play queen d5, threatening this knight and threatening on f7. And we play in a similar way. Here your opponent can also play bishop cross e3, b cross e3, and then pin this pawn. So we go short castling. After knight to g4, we play rook e1, simply guarding this pawn. And it is very risky to take this pawn. If he takes this pawn, then after knight cross e5, knight cross e5, we play pawn to f4. This knight is pinned, so we attack it. And after queen c5 check, we simply play queen d4. After the exchange of queens, we are going to win this knight. That's why in this position, black will normally go short castle. And now we can just play queen d5. And in the next move, we develop our bishop to g5, bring the rooks in the center, and white has full compensation for the pawn. And if your opponent here plays queen e7, then we play in the similar way. Castling, taking this pawn is not possible. Knight cross e5, knight cross e5, queen cross e5, rook e1. We will win the queen. So here opponent plays knight g4, and now we immediately play knight d5. We are threatening this queen, we are also threatening knight cross e7, fork, so black goes d8. And we take this bishop, knight cross b4, and look at the position of this knight. After h3, this knight is forced to go to h6. Very bad position for this knight. Now we play bishop g5. We are threatening the queen, so opponent is forced to play f6. We play e cross f6, and black is lost in this position. He cannot play a move like g cross f6 because then we take the knight. And we are also threatening rook to e1 check, and this king is very vulnerable. So white is winning in this position. Now before you go to LeeChess or chess.com and start crushing your opponent with this gambit, please press that subscribe button and share this video. Thank you very much for watching it.